Hello, I'm Fire Chief Sarah Boone. Every year for the past several decades, we have proudly welcomed visiting ships from the United States Navy, United States Coast Guard, Royal Canadian Navy, and ships from other maritime industry during Fleet Week. Although we are looking forward to an in-person fleet of ships for 2022, we are happy for the opportunity to spotlight our fireboat, David Campbell, which has served us and the citizens of Portland for nearly 100 years and has been leading the visiting ships to port for as long as I can remember, with a great red, white, and blue colored water display honoring the men and women who serve this country. Today, we are going to tour this great boat, briefly discuss its long history, and describe how colored water is produced.
Well, the fireboats have a long and important history in Portland. With the waterways that go through Portland, it was important to have that kind of fire protection. Back in the early days, many of the wharfs and waterfront properties, there was no access from land. And so a fireboat was the only way to approach or get close to any kind of a fire that would occur in these wharfs, docks, and other properties. David Campbell was the chief of Portland Fire from 1895 until 1911, when he died in the line of duty at the Union Oil fire down on Salmon and Waters Avenue. He was a very notable person in the community and a very innovative chief. David Campbell was actually the one that championed the idea of a fireboat in the early 1900s. And by 1903, it had become a reality. George Williams would be christened in 1904. A second fireboat would join the fleet in 1913, 2 years after David Campbell had died. And it would be named the David Campbell. The original George Williams and the original David Campbell were steam-powered craft. In 1927, they determined that they needed to upgrade those to something more modern and gasoline engine-driven. And so 3 boats were purchased, all identical, costing about $103,000 each, and they would be named the Carl Gunster, the Mike Loudencloss, and the David Campbell. In, I believe it was the early 1970s, the Loudencloss and the Gunster were sold off, leaving just the Campbell remaining, as smaller, faster fireboats came into play to do the job. But the pumping capacity of the Campbell was so special and so unique that it was maintained as a tool for larger fires that could still occur.
Good morning, Lieutenant Jeff Welly here, Portland Fire Bureau, Station 6, and welcome aboard Fireboat David Campbell. It was a steel-hulled boat built in 1927, 88 feet long, has a 6-foot draft, and it's got a beam of 20 foot 6 inches. It's capable of pumping 14,000 gallons a minute out of all of its turrets. We've got the 2 bow turrets here and a main turret up above the pilot house that I'll take you back and show you. So this is the main turret of the Fireboat Campbell. It's capable of flowing twice the volume of water of any of the other fireboats, which is by far the largest flow in the entire Fire Bureau. We always have to make sure that we've got people out of the harm's way, because we can sink a boat or knock a building over with this turret. We typically put it in position and let the pilot direct the stream, but we are capable of using the controls on the turret to fine-tune its direction. Cruising speed of this vessel is about 14 knots. If we turn the main turret around and pump 150 psi out of the back of the boat, it'll increase our speed by about 4 or 5 knots, so we can get someplace long distance a lot quicker. These are some of our discharges that we can supply our land-based companies if there's a water shortage and we need to pump water to some of the land-based companies. Our fireboat's just like any other fire engine. It's just a big toolbox that we keep all our tools in. Here's some of our compartments where we keep hard suctions, nozzles, all of our hand tools. Up on top we have an aerial ladder. We also have a lot of rescue equipment on here, Stokes baskets. Here's all of our spare nozzles and gates that we use to make all our hose connections. We have another manifold on the port side, so we can supply water off this side of the boat as well. So this is Mike, our on-duty pilot, and he's in charge of maneuvering the boat for firefighting operations. So typically the pilot will use the boat to steer the bow turrets, but we are capable of using the handles on them to direct the stream where we need to fine tune it. Okay, we've tied up and shut off the engines, and now we're down in the engine room, and we're going to show you a couple little things we have down here. The Campbell has 4 Cummins V12 diesel engines. The 2 aft engines are specifically for propulsion and for pumping, and the 2 forward engines are just for pumping. We have a total of 4 Byron Jackson centrifugal pumps capable of pumping 14,000 gallons per minute at 150 psi. If you're thinking the engine room in this Campbell is big, it is. We need big engines to push this boat down the river and get 14,000 gallons a minute out of the pumps. One of the special features that David Campbell is able to pump colored water displays for special events like 4th of July. We're able to do that with food grade dye that we have in these 2 fire extinguishers, and we're able to pump the red and the blue color out the discharges, and the river water is our white, so we have red, white, and blue colored water display for special events.
I'm Portland Fire and Rescue Harbor Master Sean Whalen, and I would like to thank you for your time as we highlighted the Fireboat David Campbell. I'm sad to announce that the Campbell is going to be retired from service this summer, and although it is disappointing that her last Fleet Week had to be virtual, it's good to know that this video will live on and can be enjoyed for years to come. It is also exciting to announce that the Campbell is being replaced by 2 state-of-the-art vessels that were put in service in 2016 and have shown themselves to be very capable, and we look forward to welcoming the fleet in person in 2022. Fireboat Quantum and Fireboat Skookumats are 50-foot aluminum-hulled, twin-jet drive boats, each capable of producing 7,000 gallons per minute of water. We look forward to welcoming you next year.